Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Live here on SABC 2. Eliza Anyangwe is Cameroon-born, London-based freelance journalist and a founder of NzingaEffect.com, a platform to celebrate African women's stories. She naturalized in Britain, but her parents are South African residents living and working here. She's an example of a phenomenon that is called the third culture children who cannot lay claim to one culture because they are constantly on the move. She joins us now in our studio to tell us more about this third culture movement or third culture phenomena. Good morning to you, Eliza, and welcome to Morning Live.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming through. Now, please explain to us this third culture phenomena. How does it come about?
So I think it's first of all, it's a term that was coined by an American sociologist, Ruth Hill Useem. And I think it just is used to define, as you've said, people who can't lay claim to a single culture. So they create their own culture, which is distinctive necessarily from the culture where they live and the culture of their parents. So for example, as you've said, I was born in Cameroon, spent some of my time living there, but I've also lived in total, I've lived in 10 countries on 3 continents. And now I'm resident in the UK, have British nationality and feel very deeply at home there, but I'm also at home in South Africa. So it's this new identity where people don't just have one culture, the culture of their birth or the culture of their adoptive home. They sort of float between several different.
Sure, I can imagine. Now, what are the benefits or challenges that come with being a third culture person?
Oh gosh, there's several, and they're personal because it's about identity. One of the clear benefits, especially in the world that we're living in that is so much more interconnected, is that from childhood you seem to have an innate understanding of and patience for other people's cultures because you grow up constantly having to learn about other people's cultures. And so that's very helpful, whether it's in the professional environment at work. I'm a journalist, for example, and so trying to get my head around struggles or news in other countries is very much helped by the fact that I can lay claim to more than one culture. But especially when you're young, when you're a teenager, when you're already wrestling with a question of who you are, what's your identity, it can be very unsettling because you don't have questions that your parents can answer, that your friends can answer, because they seem to, they're more rooted. I remember for a long time wishing I had a home, one that you've lived in all your life and there are pictures of your grandparents and your great-grandparents. And I don't have that because, my life has been much more fluid. But when I arrive in a new place, I'm able to set down roots very quickly because I've had a lifelong habit of doing so. I'm also multilingual. So, and I think it's very helpful with the company I'm starting to be able to, I think that's what gives me my passion for African women's stories. I'm interested in more than just Cameroon or South Africa because I've seen what is similar and what's different about women from across the continent. Yeah.
Now, there's also a big movement of people like you trying to connect on social media platforms. Can we say this is yet another, culture developing?
I think it's been developing a long time. When I joined Facebook, I was trying to remember what year, but it was very early on. Everybody moved from MySpace to Facebook, and people were joining groups and communities to really identify. And there was one called Third Culture Kids, and I thought, wow, this is something that finally describes the life I've had. I have friends who are similar, and we share stories of finding it difficult to date, or when somebody asks you where you're from, and you don't want to sound like you're bragging, but it's a very difficult question to answer in a very straightforward way. And so to have this community on social media has been very helpful.
Well, a great conversation indeed. Wish we had more time on it, but we're going to have to leave it right here. Thank you very much. That's Eliza Anyangwe talking to us about the third culture movement. Morning Live will be delving deeper into this discussion during Youth Month in June. So if you are a third culture person and would like to participate in some of the discussions, please do send us an email to chaugedi@sabc.co.za. The email address again is chaugedi@sabc.co.za. We're taking a break. When we come back, we still have a beautiful lineup, beautiful stories lined up for you here on Morning Live. Do stay tuned.